Hi everyone, welcome back for chapter 2. This is my westerly storm. I'm Charlie and this is Glyn. This all began in 2020 when I bought the boat to end a 10-year gap in sailing. The Irish Sea dished up a strong wind and then we had smoke billow from the engine. I had no choice but to cancel the trip when we arrived at Holyhead, escorted by the RNLI. The engine got lifted out, and this is the continuation of the adventure. This is what's usable and what's left of the marina where we've been hauled out for the last 13 months. In the early hours of Friday the 2nd of March 2018, Storm Emma arrived here and combined strong spring tides with hurricane force winds. The marina was obliterated along with something like 80 yachts and boats. And I can vouch for there being lots of wind at Holyhead. Lots and lots of wind. When the wind is having a rest, Holyhead Sailing Club offer food and a good social. There are stunning walks and landscapes like this at South Stack that was built in 1809, and that's a walk to give your knees a good workout. And after all that, or a day of boat work, there's Langdon's that wasn't built in 1809, but does serve the second best pizzas in the world. Much as I felt welcomed and enjoyed meeting up with new friends, moving on was inevitable. The only thing standing in my way, 106 jobs, reinstall an engine, or at least those were the things that I knew about. In a nutshell, a shed load of buffing and polishing, 10 days of sanding got all the old stuff off apart from the epoxy layer, 5 layers of new undercoatings and some new anti-fouling. I renamed the boat and in my mind by doing so, banished any remaining curse of the previous experience. There were seacocks to clean and polish, not forgetting the shaft and a new seal, and a hatch to reseal, decks to sand and paint, a tiller to refinish, AIS to install, and cockpit gratings to fix, which was a good opportunity to reverse engineer the design, because one of them really didn't look right, and the new one made using Iroko seems like it's indistinguishable. Then finish installing new battery infrastructure and a trip up the mast to clean the spreaders and check the rig. Finally, with the appearance of a crane, now's the time for the engine, the last part of the puzzle.
Whether it works, I don't know, but does it come over a bit? I mean, someone's there now, mate. Yeah. Once I get this lid, this thing in here, I'll be alright. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Put your fingers there now, mate. Yeah.
Couple of the bolts in and lock off the front of the engine, so that won't be able to move. Once down the hatch, with surprisingly little leverage, it was easy enough to position. Yeah, I think we can look at the shaft in two ways, and I can easily see that at the top of the coupling, the shaft is quite a bit lower, and if I look at the bottom end, it's also wider, so the whole engine has got to come down a little bit and then drop the front bolts to bring the aft end back, and hopefully it should be no more complicated than that. The local marine engineer lent me this handy little nylon bushing widget to keep the shaft absolute dead centre. After getting the alignment right, fuel and cooling system, battery, wiring loom and control cables, the long-awaited moment of truth. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is what you call a right result. And after all that work, it really was time for me to take a break. So I thought I'd go and have a look at Snowdon, which is one of our 3 peaks here in the UK. Parking there's a bit of a challenge on a busy day, but when you get there, there's a train that'll take you up. I've been up Snowdon many times over the years, but only ever the manual way to get to the 1,085 metre summit. I read that the train runs on a narrow gauge track, and that after local resistance to the project, the railway finally opened in 1896. Most unfortunately, one of the trains careered back down the track and derailed, killing one of the inaugural passengers. Oops. Here's some clips if you would like to imagine what terror that must have felt like. Well, this was an unexpected problem. When I discovered when I was refitting the tiller, had the tiller back on, everything was in place, done up, and I just noticed there was a little bit of movement in the tiller and discovered that the bolt that goes through the centre of the stock had completely sheared off in the middle, and it appeared to be threaded one direction through there. So the bit that was sticking out here I was unable to remove. So the only way I could do it was to move it that way and then use a multi-tool to chop it in half, move it out until it all came out. As you can see, I've got a bit of cleaning up to do here. I've made a bit of a muck of that, but there we are. But if I take the piece, that's the bit that I cut off, so that's nice and clean. The bit that's sheared is there, and it does look as if it's corroded. I don't think it's sheared through force, or maybe it has, I don't know, but all's well that ends well. Right, well, this is it, guys and girls, ladies and gentlemen. Barracuda is on the move. There we go. Bye bye cradle. Well, I did it. We're in and we're successfully moving. So far so good. I have to say that after a year and a half, it's not without a certain amount of nerves and anticipation, but so far so good. It's quite windy. I've got 10 knots straight on the port beam, which isn't ideal. So the next stage is to see if I can pick up a mooring. I have noticed one thing which one doesn't wish to see on a boat, which is water accumulating.
So that's definitely something that needs to be checked out. Well, I didn't really want to be seeing this, but the source of the leak is here.
So after a fairly sleepless night, the next day out she came again.
Right, well, I sound a bit out of breath now, but that is finally free. That's finally free. That took a little bit of removing, and it wasn't possible to remove it without completely destroying it, unfortunately. But luckily, ta-da, we have a spare one. There we go. Freshly installed, freshly sealed, freshly anti-fouled. And may God bless all those sailing now. And so far so good. The altar helm is not new. I replaced it because the other one completely gave out, and I've just been through the calibration exercise. But this is nice. I think we'll just poke our head round the corner and see what it's like. Last time I was here, right, let's do a -20. Last time I was at this point, I was being towed at high speed by a lifeboat. So it's yet another small milestone, little step in the preparation and getting it right process. So I'm happy so far. I'm happy.
Just one more job and one more little curveball. When we sailed from Scotland, I had it on my mind that the shrouds were loose on the leeward side and was snatching quite nastily. I didn't want that for heading south.
I'll bring the Swedish key with me. I'll show you what I'm talking about. There we go. Right, so obviously there are split pins in there at the minute. Ignore that. What we're looking at is where the threaded bolt meets the toggle, and you can see that the threaded portion turns, and it's not supposed to do that. So
in the next video we go to Conway and meet a man called Byron. Glyn joins us and I get to see Britain's smallest house.